have the honor right now of speaking to somebody I have a massive amount of respect for. And, as we talk about that moment, there's a lot of moments that we're going to go reflect on. And honestly, I'm going to ask him about some stuff that I've really never heard before publicly, maybe because there's a lot of information out there, or maybe it's something that I kind of heard briefly and I didn't want to face or work with because I know this man has been through a lot. But one of those moments for me, and I've shared it with Joe many times, is as a struggling kid who had a couple of hats, I took them over to a store, and Joe was literally one of the first stores in the world that would carry my stuff. And I remember I was in love at the time. I was still working around ops. I was in love with my first wife. And it was this moment where I've been dating before or whatever, but I was thinking about, she was just on I was whipped. Basically, I was just open. I dropped off the hats to the store, and this is skinny looking guy, not skinny, kind of muscular. Later on, his name would be Big Pun. He was kind of at the front door of the store. I dropped off the hats. Joe comes with a baseball glove. I don't remember what year it was, but Joe was a star already as far as I was concerned. And he said, "Hey man, why don't you drive me down the block to go play some baseball, drop or some stuff like that?" And I'm like, "Man, I got a car. It got three wheels on it. Listen, it's smoking, but this dude is supposed to be Fat Joe. This guy probably has limousines at that time, limousines." And he jumped in the car, and I'm driving with him, and he's like, "Oh man, look at that girl. Yo, look at that girl. Yo, look at that girl." And I'm like, "No," and I'm just driving because I'm whipped. Right? This is when I'm like, "Yo, I'm gonna marry this Dominican girl that I just met in Red Mouse." And then he started saying, "Yo, man, you okay?" I said, "Well, what's up?" He said, "You ain't even looking any place that I'm talking about." And I'm not sure if he was saying, "Hey, I don't know, I don't find girls attractive, or am I so focused I can't even look around?" But he kind of played me in the car. But then it was that moment that I went home and I said, "I'm going to marry this woman." I think Joe brought it to my attention in a very Joe way, that you're focused, because all I was doing was thinking about that woman. So thank you, Joe, for being here with me, brother.
My brother, thank you, man. Time flies, man. And I'm proud of you and everything you've done and everything you've accomplished and everything you're gonna accomplish. So, I'm glad to enjoy this journey of life with you, you know what I'm saying? As brothers and
Yeah.
friends and comrades.
Yeah, it has been great. We don't see each other as much as we would like to, and sometimes we were passing, but we're going to get right into it with this, because we can talk 3 hours, and maybe we'll do 1 hour here and 1 hour on your joint, and 1 hour on somebody else's joint about our history of, first of all, you being one of the most solid dudes in the industry. You never acted funny. You've given me breaks in various other ways. Hopefully I've supported you. But we're going to go into something, man. And as we talk about that moment, people know the public Joe. They know the laughter, the love, the breaking it down, the vulnerability Joe. But I just saw this, and I didn't know that there was a time in your life where you lost, and we've all lost a lot of people. But there was a time in your life where you lost two very, very special people. One publicly we know, who was Big Pun, God bless the dead. And you lost your sister.
Mm.
Now, can you tell us, because this is the first time I'm hearing, and maybe you've talked about it publicly, what happened, and how did you lose your sister?
Well, it was actually Big Pun, my sister, and my grandfather in like a week or two. And so it was so overwhelming. My sister was giving birth, and she was perfectly healthy, but she was going through a lot of pain. And in the South Bronx, they used a lot of students and not, real doctors to deliver these babies. And so they gave her epidural, which is supposed to numb her from the waist down, and it numbed her from the waist up. And so a lack of oxygen to the brain, she got in a coma. Then they put her in a assisted living. So it was really, really hard going to see my sister for 8 months. She was in that state, like she was a vegetable. Seeing my mother go through the pain, seeing my father go through the pain. And then at the same time, out of nowhere, just losing Big Pun. Big Pun was my best friend. He meant so much to us, not just as a brother, but as an icon for the hip hop community. And so that, it's one thing when you're going through some depression or something, you're going through it under the radar. It's another thing when people think they're helping you. You stop at the light, beep, 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 sorry for your brother.
Mm-hmm.
You go eat a meal,
Yeah.
sorry about your brother. So there was no way to escape that pain. Same thing with my grandfather died around the same time. And so all of this trauma, it forced me to go into a dark place. And so I seeked help. I had help. I went to a therapist for 2 years straight. And I was depressed for 2 years. So I would wake up and the sky, it could be a sunny day like it is today in New York, and it would look cloudy and dark. And I'd be jealous if my wife came downstairs and smelled good and was going with her girlfriends to eat lunch. I really went through it. Prior to that, I never drank. I drank so much. I ballooned into like 500 pounds, was losing a bunch of friends, was losing respect in business because I wasn't on my game. And so it was a real tough time for me. But it taught me a lot in life. It took me 2 years. I remember one night we were doing a rest in peace big pun wall in the Bronx, like a graffiti wall with graffiti artists. So every year we changed this mural, the Tats crew. And so we was out there in the middle of the night just painting, and 2 guys walked by. I owe these guys so much money, Daymond. 2 guys was walking by, and one guy said, "Yo, what they doing?" And the other guy was like, "Oh, they doing a big pun ball." He was like, "They doing a big pun." He said, "They do it every year." And he was like, "Every year?" He said, "Has it really been that long since Pun died?" He said, "Yeah, 2 years." And out of nowhere, it just said 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. And so all of the feeling guilty, what if I could have did something for Pun? What if I could have stopped them from eating like that or being unhealthy? All that I just looked at myself like a mirror, and they just said, "Yo, Joe, you got to let it go. It's been 2 years." And from that moment on, I just came back to regular life.
But Joe, during that time, and it's hard for anybody to get over one loss, was she your younger sister or
Oh no,
is she older?
she's like 1 year older than me. She was perfectly healthy too. She lost the baby as well as she passed away. And so, you started off saying you was once deeply in love with a Dominican girl, right? She's no longer your girl, right? And so
Right.
what people have to understand is when you got a sister that's your ride or die, your sister, that's the one who's supposed to go all the way with you. And so I lost,
Right.
it was a vulnerability in life that I lost the one sister I had that will hold me down when we're old and gray, so it was very painful.
What and of course it's very hard to lose people like that until that 2 years of the darkness. And how did that affect you in regards to like you gain weight? How did that affect your career? Because I think at that time, like Napster and all these things were coming out. The industry was changing, and you're an artist. People starting to have musical beefs with each other. I mean, it was just everything was imploding. Planes crashing into buildings in New York City, and probably hearing of other loss. How a lot of people would have never come out of that. Even though it said 2 years, what did you have anything you leaned on that at least gave you light during that time? A song? I mean, maybe there was a song out of
It was
something
the power
or
of
something
prayer.
you focused on.
The power of prayer. And I prayed so much to God, like so much to God to take me out of this depression. Also, Big Pun, I had discovered him and mentored him, executive produced him and signed him to my label. But the truth is, he was 100 times better than me. So the streets were talking. My closest friends, people I love since kindergarten, were saying, it's over for Joe. He can't do it by himself. He had Pun passed away. So there was a lot of doubt. And to me, the best revenge is success. And so a lot of people let me
Mhm.
down and gave up on me and counted me out. And so, with the power of prayer, um, and just a determination, a will, a relentlessness to never give up and believe in myself. I never forget when they were all saying that it's over for Fat Joe. I went to Jacob the jeweler and I spent like three, four
Mhm.
thousand dollars on the biggest terror squad chain, knowing that everybody thought he'd be broke and one day, it's over for Joe. I went to really show them. I went and got a TS chain that was as big as a cereal box with diamonds to we here to stay. And I often and always love to bet on myself. And
Right.
that's that entrepreneurial in us. I've always been a boss since I was 14. And so I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always believed in myself, never had a problem with investing in myself. And so that was that time right there where I had to find myself and come through the light and show everybody that I was capable of doing it.
Did that the loss at that time of your life can either have a couple of effects on you, because I know you being a very loving person. I don't know how you are, necessarily with the family, but did you find what not family, excuse me, friends and stuff? Did you find that after that you didn't want to? Because it could be two ways. It could be I don't want to get close to people anymore because I lost Pawn, I lost my sister, I lost my grandfather. Like the loss of that is leaving me in an open shell. And no matter how much I love somebody, I don't want to lose them again and feel this feeling. Or did you say, man, I got to double down on who I love because, this thing happened so quick? Because a lot of people right now have been through loss who are listening to this, and they either want to protect themselves, they got to find the best way to survive, or do they become even more vulnerable,
Well, as for me, human nature and people have let me down during the years. A lot of friends I believe to be my friends uh caught them stealing. The biggest betrayal in the world is when uh you're a real friend, like brother. You treat people like blood, like family, and you catch them do harmful things to you. And so from artists, you discover somebody. So think about it. You're born by yourself, you become successful. God gives you an opportunity to discover somebody and put them in the game and use all your relationships that you have and make them superstars. And then they turn around and look at you and say, you never did nothing for them, right?
Uh-huh.
These things just constantly happen to me in my life where I'm very guarded on who I truly love and who I let in my life like that. 2023. Prior to that, I thought everybody loved everybody. I thought everybody cared about everybody. I thought everybody
Right.
would do anything for you. So I was very vulnerable and very gullible when it came to uh, one of the worst things you could do is think that everybody thinks the same way as you. I really thought that at
Mhm.
one time. Like I really thought it was friends to the end, that type of thing, loyalty
Right.
over everything. And so it's been proven, yeah, of course I have some day ones that are loyal to me, but it's been proven more to be disloyalty than loyalty.
Well, how do you differentiate that? Because you've been able to move throughout the world from, from an author to, I see you, you started off trying to, help people in the pandemic broadcasting, and now, people are writing stories about you, and you going over to, you've just been able to transition and move so fluidly. And generally only people that can move fluidly through situations like that are people who are, they're very giving, right? And people love them. And when you walk in a room, people love you. And a lot of people are very literal. Like my wife is literal. She's like, I either like you or not. I'm not going to be in between. And she come in the room and she don't like you. She ain't going to say nothing bad to you, but she ain't going to be that entity that you are. How do for all the people listening right now, like how would you be able to tell them you can have that energy, but yet not give too much of yourself, but still be the one making people feel good, even though they may stab you in the back? How do you do that? How do you master that tightrope?
Me personally, I grew up very, very poor. And I attribute uh, everything that I have, every way of being to my mother. Back in the days, we used to take taxi cabs, and my mother it would be a $2 cab, and she would give the guy $5, and the tip would be $3. But we barely even knew if we had bread. And so she was always
Wow.
giving. It's a classic story. My mother used to work in a number spot. So before there were lottery, the hood had these number spots where people could go gamble, and people would go there and they would gamble and they would make a couple of dollars or whatever the case may be. So my mom was the number lady. And one time, one of her best friend's sons, I never forget him, it was a kid named Rollo. He stuck my mother up. He robbed her. And he took her money. And I remember all this. I was maybe 5 years old, and I heard all this chatter, throughout the family. And you believe such and such son robbed Ruby and big talk. The very next day, I saw the kid in my house, and my mom's was serving him a plate of food. And so I come from that. I come from where my mother was like. So I told my mother, "Isn't this the guy that robbed you?" And she was like, "Yeah, but he's on drugs and you don't understand. Like, I know he's a kid." My mom's, no matter how, you could picture this, no matter how successful I was, like I was already platinum, I was already rich. He refused to move out the projects. Refused. Like she would not. And I used to beg her, "Mom, please, let me get you a house. Let me get you something." And she would just stay in the projects. And when I would randomly pull up at my mother's house and I go to her house, the door's wide open. I go to the kitchen, there's kids, there's, really crackheads making sandwiches in my house. And I'd be like, "Yo, Mom, what's up with this?" She'd be like, "Oh, that's little Johnny." That's, I know him my whole life. So I always came from a giving background. And so with me, I always feel as if God has blessed me so much that it's only right for me to give, for me to do philanthropy, for me to give back, for me to be available for my community. So no matter how many people let me down, it's always in my spirit to give back and take care of the community.
And God bless your mother. She's still with us?
Yeah, she's with us.
Good. Now, our mothers have taught us that, but as people who want to reach for success, and we look at things like the Nipsey Hussles of the world and the various other, people who have stayed in the community, always wanting to give back, and you work so hard to not get out of the community, but make life better for yourself. And as you do that, of course, it creates a lot of jealousy, or people just don't understand, and the have-nots sometimes are like the first target they're going to go for, the haves. It's not even that they don't even want to, they don't even intend to do that, but they just need, right? At what point do you say, I can give to this community, but I can't live here? Or I can live here, but I can't give, because then once I do that, the ones who don't have, say, "What's up?" And where do you draw the line? I don't even know if you have an answer for that.
I do. I own several businesses in the hood, the South Bronx, Harlem, Washington Heights. We built a classroom in my store in the South Bronx. And we have an after-school program where the kids have access to computers. At the end of the semester, we give them the computers. We have mentors come and talk to them. I look at my businesses as like a hub. And so I refuse to run away from the hood. And I also, I look at it as passing a baton of hope. Now, if you do something to Fat Joe in the hood, who's the only guy who gives food to the people, gives computers to the people, who sponsors it's shame on you. And it's been a passion of mine in my whole life that people could still, no matter how affluent we get, how successful we get, people have a direct line to Fat Joe. They could walk in my store, and if they're a pastor of the church, there's somebody from the community that wants to see Joe, they'll get Joe on FaceTime and be like, "All right, hold up, here he goes." And I love that, because in the past, and then and you're right. Something happens to Fat Joe, they like shame on him. He could have been in Beverly Hills. He could have been,
Right.
he didn't have to be here. Obviously, I don't live in the hood. I live in a beautiful neighborhood in Jersey, but still in
Mhm.
all, I like to provide opportunity and jobs and hope for our people to let them know that we don't have to run away, that we can invest in our community. It's not really your community if you're living in a black and brown community, and when you go to the store, the person behind the cash register is never black and brown. And so,
Right.
that's how I choose to reinvest in my community.
And I think that, I mean, listen, you're legendary for doing it. And I just think that, maybe it's because you're so loved that whoever comes up with something, crazy, somebody else checks them. So why don't we switch gears for a minute? We know we're in the 50th anniversary of hip
Well, I,
hop, and we
I
don't
can tell you
necessarily
a
need to
little,
talk about it
I
about
can
being
tell you a
hip hop.
little fun fact real quick, and
Yeah, let's go.
it's not bragging because I'm fortunate. This is a sad situation, but when they had the uprisings in the streets and they was looting the businesses, there's 277 sneaker stores in New York City. They looted 275. The only two that didn't get looted in the whole New York City was Fat Joe stores. And that's not because Fat Joe's
Mm,
tougher than nobody. It's because I take the
right.
community and they said, not here. They stood in front of the store and said, it's not going to happen to this right here. And so I feel like you can make money in the community, but you have to also have a presence and let them know that you're giving back to the community. I'm sorry for cutting you off about the
No, that's true.
anniversary.
Nah, I want to hear that. And that is not bragging. That is a badge of honor. And like you said, we say, "Cause yo, I'm tough." I mean, we obviously listen. When you get to a level that we're at, a lot of people say, you may have lost the hood or this and that. When you have money, you can hire anybody you want to hold the hammer if you want, right? And that's not necessarily going to be the need. So, like, people be like, "Oh, listen." You don't want to mess with Bill Gates. He can hire somebody to take a battleship to your ass. So it's never about making money and you can't keep it real. But the more important part about keeping it real is you are people mess with you and you don't need that stuff. You got people who will say, "This is Joe, and don't do this to our community because he's so loved." And so as we talk about the 50th anniversary of hip hop, I don't even know if we're gonna get into that. I want to know because coming up in Queens. When I'm driving down the block, when I was broke, it was rising to the top that I kept saying, man, I'm going to make it, right? Or it was some Bob Marley songs, or was jamming by Stevie Wonder. When you were coming up in any part of your life, was there a song or a certain moment that it just made you wander off and say, things gonna be all right, or I have aspirations, or I'm gonna get this, or I'm not gonna let anybody hold me back?
There's so many. I mean, my record all the way up was a record of triumph. I was all the way down. I went to prison for taxes and found a way to make a song that uplifts everybody. It says nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. But to answer your question,
Right.
there's several songs, right? Of course, it's always we are family. I got my
Yeah, nice.
sisters with me. That was
Just a sledge.
that was
Uh-huh.
that was the family thing. And I could tell you my favorite hip hop record of all time is from rest in peace, Biz Markie. And it was the Vapors. And so I
And
grew
then
up so poor. And so it was four of us. And my mother, if I wanted the V bomber, she'd get it for me, but 4 years after it was the style. Like it's the truth. Like when suede Pumas got played out, that's when I got my suede Pumas. But she made on a promise. So the Vapors, I would drive around when I was in the streets hustling, and I got my first BMW. I would drive about 2 miles per hour and blast the stereo, and it'd be like doom doom. They caught the Vapors. Doom 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 doom
uh-huh.
doom 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 doom. My favorite hip hop record of all time. And I'll give you another one. The third was We Are Family, and I know there's many things that held us down, and I
Uh-huh.
finally finished.
Yeah, yeah. In
Slowly down
Philadelphia, ain't
along
no
the way,
stopping us now.
accident and going. They don't know. Wow.
Oh no.
You know, I used to watch
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali come into the ring with that song. Like that's the official, I think that's the official like black spiritual upliftment song of
Yeah.
all time, right? You know, and so that song is so powerful. And that's a song that'll get you going and just
But can I let me dig in on those a little bit for a second. So, because if I look at those songs, there are three elements to the song, right? Ain't No Stopping Us Now by McFadden and Whitehead, We Are Family, Sister Sledge, and Vapor by Biz, who I think you even named your dog or something like that after Biz, right?
Yeah, my dog is called Biz Marquis, man. It's my son.
So We Are Family, were you like, because when I think of that song, We Are Family, I think about cleaning up the house and doing my chores on a Saturday and Sunday, mom cooking, and, people coming in and out of the house, the doors open, wide open, people stopping by, and you just feeling good about it. You're not even thinking about the song at the moment. You just in that moment. Was that how it was for you? Because I think we're around the same age.
No, that's exactly what it is. I remember my mom's, my aunts on Saturdays, cleaning, cooking. They used to love this song,
Yeah.
I Will Survive. Oh,
Gloria Gaynor.
oh, now, no, walk out the door. Yo, oh my God, this is the guy haters anthem of all time.
Yeah.
In my house, it was, I don't know what type of stuff my father was into, but it was ringing off in that house. Like that would play 20 times a day. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. Yeah, but you're right. You hit it on the head. That's the family anthem on a Saturday when they cleaning.
Yeah.
And then those
And
moments.
let's trade the movie. Let's trade the movie though for Ain't No Stopping Us Now. Because my understanding of that we're the same age is I'm walking into the pipe, the fire hose is busted open, right? The kids are playing, the food is out, and I'm walking into a block party,
Oof.
and I'm hearing Ain't No Stopping Us Now, and it is a nice day in July, and New York City is bright. Mr. Softy is right there on the corner. And it's right before it get dark, because when it get dark, it may start popping off, and you are just seeing everybody you ain't seen in a long time. They're just on the block. Plus, you're seeing all the people you have seen, the pastor, the moms. They're making cupcakes. They're all bringing food out, and they're playing Ain't No Stopping Us Now. And it's like they ain't a care in the world today. We're out here playing dominoes and cards. Is that the movie you have too?
That is exactly the same movie. And I'll tell you something that's a little bit too real. Before Instagram and before the internet, my father's Cuban, right? So my father always traveled back to Cuba. And I would ask him, how is it in Cuba? Because, most people are poor over there. If you don't have family over here that sends you money over there, you're poor. And he would be like, it's poor, it's whatever, but they still having a good time because they don't know what they're missing. And so what we had in the Bronx was just such a sense of community that we did not know. If we didn't have nothing to eat, the lady next door would give us some pork chops. They'll give us some chicken wings.
Right.
We loved each other as a community. So Ain't No Stopping Us Now had us all like, we laughing at people's uncle who's drunk, we this, but it was always love. And we didn't know what we were missing. We just didn't. Now it's a bigger problem. This is where they start talking about mental illness and watch your kids with on social media, because now I'm broke, they got it. And how do I get there? And so that's the difference with social media. Doesn't let you figure out, oh, we ain't got it. It's letting you know, oh no, you ain't got it. And so that's why people trying to be something they're not, or taking these kind of risks, or kids realizing, oh, well, my father ain't here, or my mother ain't here, and I ain't got it. And that's where it becomes a situation.
I think that's the truth, right? And I think that right now we're at a time where You know, we have social media anxiety or social media depression, because I always say every time I pick up the damn phone, everybody richer, skinnier than me, they all in Jamaica. I don't know when these people work, Joe. I have no idea where these people work, Joe. But you know, you have a calming sense. You have this kind of like, and hopefully I have it too, the sense of security. And people like you, me, and all the A-type personalities in the world, we always have a form of a healthy paranoia. It's not that we do things anymore for money, but we do things for purpose. And if you would really think about years ago, somebody said, well, I ain't gonna be no 50-year-old rapper. We were growing up 50 years old, you were dead. Right. And music is, even Dre was saying, music's the voice of the young, or the spirit of the young. But how do you have this comfortable demeanor? Because oh, yeah, I know you got a great catalog, but you know, you ain't Michael Jackson. I know I got great companies, but I ain't Mark Cuban. You know what I mean? I'm Mark Cuban. I ain't, you know, Mark Cuban wake up my money home, boy, he jumping out the window. He like, I'm a crackhead, you know? So how do you have this comfortable kind of position, but yet you're hustling and moving fast? You're working more than anybody else, but you kind of have this demeanor like, it's okay. I'm going to get it. Don't worry about me. I'm going to get it. And I'm going to keep getting it for the rest of my life. And I ain't got to stress it. I ain't got to be thirsty. I ain't got to be doing stuff that everybody else is doing, but I'm going to get it. And I don't have it figured out fully. Or maybe you do. I would love to hear your insight. You got this calming demeanor to you, even though you are hard. You're Bronx all the way. You're New York all the way. You're just dirty all the way. You're the most shit talking person all the way, but you still got this calmness. How do you have that?
Well, practice makes perfect. You know, I've been rich, I've been broke, I've been rich, I've been broke, I've been rich, I've been broke. And believe it or not, it you know, recently, within this last year, I found an accountant stealing from me again, stole millions of dollars.
Oh God. Right. There's a problem. There's got to be a problem with you, man. Everybody's stealing. Can I steal from you, man? I sound like I'm the only person who haven't gotten to the wallet.
Listen, man, but they get caught. And so eventually when you stick your head in the cookie jar, you get caught for millions of dollars. And so this is about the third time this happened to me. It's a weird feeling. It feels almost like when you see a bakery and you see dough being made, the machine goes like this, your stomach stretches like this, right? Because you pick people to protect you. You work like an animal, and the people who are supposed to protect you, they feel like they're smarter than you. So they start playing games with your money, right? And start thinking it's their money, right? But when this happened, normally I would have been shook, or I would have been, but being that I actually been through this before, I knew how to take a slow breath and say, all right, I know how I'm gonna do this. You know, I know how to get up out of this. I know we're gonna sue these people, even though we're not suing type of people. And I know we're gonna win. But at the end of the day, you know, the experience, you know, I say God gives you experiences, and it's only to prepare you for the future. And so you take that knowledge, and it's only really if you like, why God, be careful in 10 years, because you're gonna know why he taught you that lesson. Because in 10 years, you're gonna know how to react to it. And so you know, I've always been optimistic, man. I've always been a dreamer. I'm like a Bugsy Siegel. He went to Vegas and just made Vegas. He went to a desert and made Vegas. I'm like that. I'm a big dreamer. And if we bet on something we believe in, that we lose, I never have a problem losing. I never have a problem losing, even though we win more than we lose. And so at the end of the day, I'm a hustler. I was born to make money, no matter what. There's nothing you can do to stop me from making money unless I'm unhealthy, God forbid. I know how to get to the bag. I know how to adjust. I know how to move with the times. I know how to be ahead of a curve. And believe it or not, I'm always preparing for that next big, like I haven't hit what I want to hit. And you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, when you hear people who say, I invested in the next Uber, I invested in the Ring, I'm in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all in that. I haven't cracked one of those open yet, but trust me, I'm all in it. My wife was like, yo, I was just recently in Dubai for 2 weeks straight. Trying to put a move together. Right. And she was like, what do you think? I said, well, you know, these type of things never work out for me, but at least I'm trying. And so you know, it's funny. Uh, I used to go to Angola, Africa a lot, right? And it's a very rich country in diamonds and gold and oil, but it's also a very poor country, very poor. The disparity is you got it or you don't. Like that's it. There's no.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no.
You in shanty town or all the way up, right? Yeah.
I would go on a plane to an all-black African country, and half the plane is white. And it recently had just came out of civil war. Thousands of people died, and these guys was on the plane. And I remember looking at them all the time when I would go over there, and I'd be like, these guys ain't scared to go nowhere for the dollar. They ain't scared to go. And that's the type of stuff, you know, we're hunters. You know, we're here to provide for our family. You know, and 9 times out of 10, unless you're a super lucky guy who has a woman who understands finances, knows this, you know, if you're just a provider your whole life, you know, you got a problem with trying to make them understand the things you got to do. It's almost like I get upset every year when I deal with accountants, right? When it's tax time. Because if you got a good accountant, 9 times out of 10, they're numb. Like it's almost like when a doctor comes and says, "Oh, you're gonna die," right? It's like just be like, "Hey, you made a lot of money. And you're like, no, I had to go to the jungles. I had to go to Thailand. Do you know what diarrhea from spicy food is? Do you know what do everything in the world, and you come back and you got a 50-50 partner with you. So you're trying to at least the only person who can, because you're definitely not arguing with the government or the IRS. The only person who gets to get your screams and your anger is your accountant. And you know, these guys, they're just like, hey, man, this is what you got to do. And you're just like, wow, they just understand the numbers. They don't understand what it took to get it.
Well, you know what, Joe, I got to tell people this because what I learned when my accountants, I've learned always get an accountant. First of all, recommended by somebody who has never lost to the IRS, because first of all, when you are, they're going to be people who are going to keep you on the track. When the IRS goes after you, they say, oh, this dude's accountant has not lost any, any audits. Let's move on to a softer target. But just like you saying, yelling, I get off after tax season every year. I get off, I call my other partner, I call my Jewish partner. I always go, listen, man, I want to fire this guy, personally. This guy's an a-hole. And they say to me, let me tell you something, Daymond. If your accountant is always agreeing with you and happy, he's stealing or she's stealing. If he's an asshole, that means he's not stealing from you. Then I say to my partner, I go, well, Norm, Norm. I'd be like, Norm, but you and I never get into arguments. We're always good. And he'd be like this. So he basically be like, yo, man, you want your accountant to be an asshole because he know or she know you mad. It's not like you go like, yo, I'm mad. They don't care.
Hold up. Tell me about that partnership. You've been in it for 20, 30 years, and you guys are thick and thin. You guys are like got each other's backs. You guys, and you started from different worlds, and you got his back, he got your back. Like, what is that like knowing that you could wake up and know, yo, I got a partner who got my back and I got his back no matter what goes on?
Man, you know what? It is the greatest feeling ever. It is the fact that, and I think that I've seen you around people of other ethnicities, genders, all kind of stuff like that. And for this Jewish family to do a deal with us and they didn't have a lot, they had distribution and we didn't have a lot, and we found ways to meet in the middle. And I've been at more bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs than I've been at anything else. I consider them, if I'm on my deathbed, there's going to be a couple of people I'm going to call, and I'm going to call them. And it is an honor, right? When you start to see, and like you say, man, like being so loving to each other, we tend to walk into the room, and because society has told us, man, yo, Joe, keep it real. Don't hang out with that person because I don't know, they're white or they live over here or they're gay or they're straight or whatever the case is. And I think at the end of the day, when you are absolutely dedicated to somebody, you know that when you're on your deathbed and you want the people around you, you ain't gonna give a shit about who they sleep with, what God they pray to, or what color skin they have. I think it's the best feeling in the world. And like you said, you're gonna get hurt by some of these people sometimes. Something's gonna happen, but I've never gotten hurt by any of these type of people that I trust so much because it takes half a lifetime for somebody to find a friend and the other half of them to prove it. That's what they say. And I'm that's just the way it is. And I'm it's like you were with JR and Lauren, right? God bless JR who passed away. Only vacation he ever had in, I don't know, 20, 30 years, and gets an aneurysm and didn't enjoy life like you and I get to enjoy it, even though he had everything. He didn't take that minute to decide to have this type of conversation,
Yeah, well, with me, I'm about humanity, and I'm about uh people being righteous, people being good people being family people. Uh and I'm cool with the Jews, I'm cool with the Muslims, And so, I sit down with my Jews, and they turn around, my Jewish people, and they turn around and they say, Joe, anybody who teaches you the Torah or tries to make you Jewish, they really love you, right? And then I sit down with my Muslim guys, and they go, Joe, anybody who tries to teach you the Quran, they really love you, right? And I'm like, yo, but I'm Jesus Christ, right? And they go, but Jesus Christ was a Jew, right? But me, just like you, I've learned to overcome whatever this propaganda is. And I love people who love me, who always do right by me. And I stand up for that wherever I go in the world. It's just, if this is my brother, this is my sister, that's what it is. They've showed me nothing but loyalty. They showed me nothing but love to my family. And I love them all the same.
Joe, I think that leads me to my final question. It's a very simple one. You and I, we came up with nothing. We the streets have not taught us to be vulnerable because people exploit that. But as you just talked about, the people around you, the place you've been, who do you ask for? Because I know you all, you're a student of life. People want to seem like they know it all. Who do you ask for advice? And why do you go like when you're in a room? You have a concept of, I'm always going to ask for advice. I'm not going to act like I'm tough. What is the kind of way that you go after and look for advice with people?
Well, God bless the dead. It was JR, right? It was JR Ridinger, friend of ours, a mutual friend of mine and yours.
Yep.
Became a billionaire from nothing. And he taught me a lot about business, and I was by his side every day. Another person is Desiree Perez, my manager at Rock Nation. Very, 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 very intelligent woman. And every time I need guidance or I need some sort of help, she's always there for me, 1,000,000% above and beyond. And I would say those are the two go-to people I go to if I'm jammed up or I don't understand the situation or I don't know what's going on. And then they'll just break it down to me. You know what I'm saying? So those are two people I really, really trust in giving me the right information.
Well, I believe you should do that, and I agree. Like a JR, and I don't know Desiree, heard wonderful things about it, but JR didn't need you. JR didn't need me. And I love to ask people who don't need you, for advice. And that's why often when you and I talk, I can ask you for advice because you don't need me, I don't need you. And that's the best people in the world, that they want to do it because they love you, as you said, about the Quran or the Torah, right?
Yep.
So, man, I love you, man, Joe. You've done so much for my career. You've done so much for other people's career. You used to call Russell Simmons everybody's private partner, or you said silent partner. I think you're everybody's silent partner in the game. And, man, I appreciate you for spending that moment with me, and go take care of those Knicks and take care of that opportunity and celebrate that moment.
I want to shout out somebody very important. Our boy Chauncey from Chi-Town,
who
reached out and made this up. He used to take me to Cabrini Green. He ain't always have the suit with the turtleneck and all that. I know Chauncey from the streets of Chicago. That's our brother.
Yeah.
Peace, my brother.
Thanks for watching. I wish you love and power in your life. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Check you later.